The Sciforror Film Podcast. And so we go to Sunday, the 26th of the 2nd, 2023. The final day of the Romford Horror International Film Festival. So, the first session, who's going to go first? This one? Want me to do this one, and you're going to go first?
No, I'll go first.
Screen two. You were in screen two, weren't you?
Yes. Yeah, screen two that was in there, so it was me dying on my tongue. No, it was started off with a short called Incubus. That's how you spell it?
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah, it's a very, very moving film. Like it's definitely it's a hard hitting subject on it, but it's a very good film, and I can understand why they put it with the other one that they have on the feature length. But it is such a good film. I just to be honest, I could sit there and say about everything about this, but nothing I say is going to be able to put across what this film was like. You could describe it down to like the last tea. It's never going to be the same for everyone. I think there was a lot of people in the screen that felt the exact same way. There was I'm not saying it felt the same way, but it sort of they took away from it something different.
Right.
And it's such a great film to do, and I'll quite happily watch it again. Actually, there's been a few this week, like over this weekend, that I've felt like that.
Cool.
Now the feature length they did that was done. It's called, I don't know if it's called Poe or Pow or what.
I think it's Poe.
Poe, but it was also called Peacock.
Yeah, well, I think it's Poe. Poe means peacock in
Yeah.
whichever language it was.
South African.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Okay.
The guy was talking to me about, but it's again, it's a very hard hitting film about a lot of different subjects that was going on and still go on. But it was again another one dealing with like not depression, dementia. Sorry,
Right.
and but also dealing with grief and loss and how it affects different people when it could be about the same person.
Okay.
But you don't really find that out until later on that it's about that. But it's very well done there. It's all set. It's all set sort of in the middle of nowhere in this sort of very extravagant sort of villa, and it's based on a nurse and the person that she's caring for, and so she's a living carer, and they've got a doctor to turn up and do things, and it's about how hard it can be and stuff like that. But there's a lot of darkness to this film. And it's saying this and Incubus, I think I can definitely see. To be honest, I can see why a lot of these over the weekend were paired together. But this one, I think, was definitely a great film to watch. And I had a chance to meet his dad, the guy that made this, and he said that he was still over in South Africa doing things, and he had never seen it on the screen, the big screen before. Like he'd seen little snippets as it was being done, and he said that he didn't want to seem biased, but even he was blown away with this film. And I'd say I completely understand. It was such a great film, and saying if I really am going to keep an eye on the stuff that this guy does, just because of the fact that it's a lot of like there's stuff to do with ancient tradition stuff and different traditions, but also very sort of like religion and religious beliefs and everything like that. And but it was the different graphics and different visual effects that they used in it throughout, like the difference of the way of filming, because it was very sort of not black and white, but it was sort of like with the color aspects of certain things that were popped out,
Right.
but it was very very well done, and I would say one of the best, I think, for this weekend
Cool.
for me anyway.
Yeah, that's cool. I had a completely different experience in the other screen. First of all, we had a short film which was called The Iron Sheik Massacre. This was a wrestling horror comedy.
Sorry, do you know I've read that 3 times and I've read it as the Iron Sheik. It makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah. Well, for anybody that doesn't know, the Iron Sheik was a wrestling superstar in the World Wrestling Federation. Back in the day when like Hulk Hogan was big, and the Iron Sheik won the heavyweight championship belt, and he held it for about 4 months, and then Hulk Hogan beat him. And after that, he never quite achieved the same level of
Yeah,
thing. But he did work in a tag team with a Russian wrestler called Nikolai Volkov. But it was a very funny film, this, because it's a group of American guys and a couple of women who do this wrestling podcast, and they talk about the old WWF wrestlers,
yeah,
that sort of thing. And basically what they do is they go on there and say who was crap. And that's what they do. They go on there and they're all talking about how crap the Iron Sheik was, and how he only held the belt for 4 months, and
yeah.
Hogan beat him and he was much better than him, and all this kind of stuff. And then there's a huge like lightning storm and a bolt of lightning. The the TV explodes and the lightning jumps from the TV
Okay.
to this giant rubber action figure of the Iron Sheik and brings it to life. So
As
it
you do.
then goes around killing them.
Okay.
And being quite crude about it, and some of it quite funny. There's a great bit where he puts a large kitchen knife.
Yeah.
It's a large kitchen knife, and he's chasing this guy, and he's cut his leg, and this guy falls face first over the arm of a sofa. So the Iron Sheik comes up behind him and forces this blade into his rectum.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And then proceeds to follow it.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's a great thing, because this won an award later on for a specific thing in it, which
Yeah.
we'll tell you later when we get to the award side. But it was
Yeah.
good fun. The effects were really good, and it was really good fun. But there was a really odd moment in it. There was this kind of poignant moment where the
Yeah.
Iron Sheik kind of stops attacking, and they've got all these little mini action figures of all these old wrestlers, and there's all of them, all these ones in a row at the front that are all wrestlers who are either dead or have had to retire due to ill health and things like that. And he's looking at them, and it's almost like he wants to cry.
Okay.
And it's really kind of like, you, for a moment, you think, oh, that's really sad. Looking at all
Yeah.
his old friends and realizing that and I thought, it's a bloody comedy film with a rubber Iron Sheik killing people with a knife. What am I doing? Which was kind of weird, but it's a good film. It was a really good film. It was excellent. I loved it.
Okay.
Then there was a feature film which was completely different. There was a feature film called The Ones You Didn't Burn. It's quite an intense and atmospheric film. The use of sound and visuals in this were really good.
Yeah,
Basically, it's about brother and sister who go back to the family farm after the death of the father. The father commits suicide, and it's to do with people who owned the land before their family took it over,
yeah,
ended up working for them, were kind of were the people were kind of at the time were labeled, a lot of them were labeled as witches.
yeah,
And the reason it's called The Ones You Didn't Burn is because of the fact that it's about local witchcraft, local witches and their descendants,
yeah,
things like that. It's good, but it's not an entirely unexpected thing. You know, you get to the end of it and you find out what the end of what the actual reveal of the story is. You kind of go, well, that was rather obvious, really. You know,
yeah,
it's but it was good. It was a good film, and it was well acted and well made, and I enjoyed it. But it was a little bit kind of well, you know,
yeah.
nothing unexpected really. But yeah, but it was quite good. It was quite good. So session 2 on the Sunday. Well, yes, session 2 on the Sunday. You want to go first?
Yeah, I hate to admit, I actually missed the short of it. I was
Oh, what, the microscope?
no, yeah, that's session three.
Oh, it's session 3. Sorry, yes,
Sorry,
sorry.
session two was the writer's retreat. I
Right, there's
missed
a
this.
treat.
I was in the process of. Oh, they said we'd have enough time for you to go and have a fag and everything, so I did. And then because I went outside and it was cold, I didn't need the loo. And when I got back, it literally, I think I see the last minute, and
Okay,
none
there
of
we
it
go.
made sense to me. But I say, from what I heard, it was a good film.
Yeah,
I didn't know of it,
that's
but
right.
it was. Sorry, go on.
No, it's all right. No, don't worry about it.
No. So yeah, so it was preceded then by a film called The Tales from the Great or Tales from the Great War,
Yeah,
and it was sort of a I don't know whether or not it could be classed as an anthology film or what, but it was different. Um, it was all about these people that were in the same regiment
right.
that had then different ways of why they were there and reasons why they were there and things that happened to them to get them to the regiment and then what happened while they were there and afterwards. It's it is a very funny film and like there's a lot of there's gore bits in it and horror aspects in it, but there's a lot of comedy in it as well.
Okay.
Um, great work, great uses of the cameras in it because it's from I was there for the Q and A afterwards, and where they were was actually filmed. It was filmed a lot in um like bunkers that would be used for school tours. So
Oh, okay.
they're
Yeah.
not big bunkers. They're basically what they would have used back in the World War, and so there's not a lot of space. And the camera angles they had in them, I thought were very well done. And I say it sort of there was light-heartedness bits of it, but there was a lot of intense sort of bits to it. The storytelling I thought was great, but what I liked about it mainly was the different stories of what was going on to the different characters was all filmed slightly differently. So you had one that was sort of in black and white, one that was filmed this sort of as a sort of like almost like Charlie Chaplin sort of style. So the sort of you see the mouths moving and then the words come up afterwards. And
Right.
every single one was filmed as a different type of what they would have been in the time,
Right.
and I thought was very well done. Um, it was a great sort of film. It's like it's about like these four British soldiers that have all met through their regiment and end up where they are and what happens to them
Sounds
and
cool.
sort of the darkness that ties in is then due to all due to this book which is all about how to kill werewolves and vampires, how to kill these mythical creatures and them fighting back. And
Okay.
it is such a great film and there's so many funny one liners in it, but it
Yeah.
works so well.
Cool. Cool. I saw. Let me see. You got first one was a short film called Two Sisters, which was witchcraft story again. It's a witchcraft short. Good cinematography, decent effects. It was okay, but it was a bit over long. Really, it was just a bit. The problem I have sometimes with supernatural films is they either need to be a lot longer, so they've got more time to for things to happen, or they
Yeah,
need to be really short.
yeah,
But if you're partway in the middle, it kind of gets a bit like nothing happens. It was a bit odd. But it was okay. It wasn't a bad film. Um, then we had a feature film called They Wait in the Dark. This was an interesting film because it's got a lot of twists in it.
yeah.
It's about a woman who's running from her uh, ex partner or her partner or something with their son.
Okay.
Uh, and the interesting thing about it is the fact that she goes back to the town that she came from,
Yeah.
and she's kind of reliant on people there who know her, especially one of her old friends. But the ex isn't, or her partner isn't, what she makes them out to be.
Okay.
So twist there because you think, oh, she's the good guy, the partner's not, but
Yeah.
then that isn't the case.
Okay.
Um, and there's also another twist, which is that the son, who she says they adopted, was actually stolen from somebody,
Oh, okay.
and that person was killed. So while she's running from her ex, and while all this is going on, she's being haunted in the house.
Yeah.
And so she kind of the ghost, the ghost from their past, as it were. It's good. It's a bit long, a bit drawn out. They're a bit. I think it could do with being slightly faster paced. But
Yeah.
it was an interesting idea, and because of the twists, it made it interesting to watch.
Yeah.
But it just was a little bit slow, so it was a little bit kind of a bit too drawn out for me.
Mm.
But it was good anyway. So then we the third section, which is the one the one I was talking about just now.
Yeah.
So, yes, do you want to go?
Yeah. The short that was in this called Microscope or the Microscope. You know what? I think this has got to be one of the favourites for my shorts this weekend. It was
Okay,
so well done. The gore that was in it shocked me the fact that they were able to do it for a start. Um,
okay,
the whole premise is like this scientist gets these slides, these micro slides that you can look under a microscope and everything, and one of them's a bit more than he thought it was,
okay.
and it ends up sort of taking him over, and he ends up. I don't know whether or not he gets some. I don't know if it's sanity or gets some what back, but he ends up taking his own eyeball out with a spoon.
Obviously,
Yeah, and then proceeds to pop that one with with the microscope to then examine it, and it ends as him taking out the other one with the spoon. And
okay.
yeah, it's cinematography on it was amazing. The shots in it, but all of it. The thing that blew me away the most, I think, for this was the makeup, and like the makeup and the effects for it. Was so well done.
Oh,
I genuinely, I knew it was a film, but there was part of me that sat in the back, and I was in the back of my head just going, "That's guys just taking his eyeball out." It's like I'm sitting there like I was almost I could hear myself at one point arguing with myself, going, "It's a film," and there's like the voice in the back of my head going, "Yeah, but he's just taking his eyeball out with the spoon." And I'm like, "It's a film," and I'm like, "I don't care. He's taking his eyeball out with the spoon." And I had that for about 5 minutes. Um,
you could try it if you want.
yeah, but the feature, the long one they had on it, was a film called Mask of the Devil,
Yeah.
And now the synopsis or the description that's in the book really only tells about the first minute of the film. The rest of it has got nothing to do, apart from the mask, has got nothing to do with the main bit. Yeah? So the main thing is this, isn't it? Mercenaries attempt to steal a sacred tribal mask, releasing ancient evil.
Right.
Yeah, that's literally for the first minute, not even that, maybe. The rest of it is then what happens to this mask afterwards and
Right.
where it ends up being. And it ends up making its way onto. Now, I'm not 100% sure on the age range of our audience, so I'm going to put it as an adult film with very, very adult content,
Right.
which is one of the reasons why one of the awards that was branded the best
Oh,
F
yes.
is from that film.
All right.
Um, yeah, and it's obviously it ends up in an adult film, and it's the only ones that don't get haunted, don't get attacked are virgins or people that don't want to stop it. And there's only two on the whole set. Everyone else gets targeted, and
Okay.
it's yeah, it's there's a lot of innuendos in it and a lot of gruesome deaths in it, um,
Okay.
including saying there's one where a phone gets inserted into someone's ear, and but saying again, out of all of it, I think the makeup and art department in this, I think, deserve awards of their own. It was amazing. I think it was so well done. Like that, it was. But again, it was another one that had the sort of right mix of comedy and gore in it to make it work. Such a great film, and
Right.
I loved it. I come home and I told Amy about this film, and she just looked at me. She went, and it was almost that look of disbelief on her face. And I'm like, no, babe, honestly, this really happened. And you can sort of see again. I want to believe you, but for what you just described, doesn't sound like someone would make that. And as saying, it's a very good film, and I loved every minute of it. I
Cool.
thought it was
It does
great.
sound,
And
it sounds good.
it's just funny, but it's got the sound of the gore. It's basically to put it is it's a bit more of the whole haunting bit is like you would do like Jason and Michael Myers and stuff like that. They're sort of being followed around and killed off one by one. But it's the obviously on the adult set, so there's a lot of props being used
Yes.
to kill them off, and it's just like, wow, that's thinking, yeah, especially with one of them because there's a lot of it's you can see a lot of it, like
Right.
the instruments that are used, and they're like stuck on the wall, or and saying one gets used to kill someone, and it's just like this is a lot of detail in a lot of this stuff, and I think it's just such a good film.
Yeah, it sounds good. It sounds interesting.
Yeah, I'd say I would love to. I would love to be able to get a copy of it just to show people.
Fair enough. Well, I watched a very interesting short film called Tea Light. I liked this. It was a really good idea. It was to do with agoraphobia.
Oh, okay.
And it was basically about this woman who seems to be trapped between a fear of something evil in the house that she's in
Yeah.
and her fear of going out.
Okay.
And she's kind of trapped because she doesn't want to be trapped. She doesn't want to be in the house with this evil that's in there,
Yeah.
but she can't go out of the house because every time she tries to get out of the door,
Yeah. Panics. Yeah.
she panics and she can't go out. Which it was a really interesting idea. I've never seen anyone do that before, and it was interesting to see it sort of like how it worked. I really only enjoyed the film because it was different like that.
Yeah.
And it's about how she conquers both fears effectively.
Oh.
So that was good. That was followed by a very strange creature film called The Quantum Devil.
Okay.
Now, the idea of this is about a guy who brings together a group of people who seem quite a strange group to bring together, with the idea that they're going to work together with him to find a way of opening. There's this whole thing about when they were worried that when they did the whole Higgs boson thing, that it was going to open up
Oh yeah, tear a
portals
hole
to,
in the universe, and everyone was going to be ripped apart and die and
yeah,
everything. Yeah,
yeah. So it's a bit like that, and it's he wants to open up this portal, and they wants them to help him, and it's an interesting idea. There's a kind of gratuitous nudity and sex scene at the beginning, which is kind of explained later on, but it still
yeah,
really doesn't need to be shown in as much detail as it is. Um, there's some pretty good ideas, but then it basically turns into like a haunted house horror film that then goes a bit kind of like H.P. Lovecraft, because it opens up this portal into this world that's sort of like there are these giant ancient gods live, and
okay.
there's a few places where it's very predictable, and a few other places where you go, "What?"
Yeah. Sounds.
Uh, and there's some great effects in it, and it's interesting. It's not a bad film, but it's not great, and it's kind of like I'm not sure what's going on here. It's a bit bizarre, to be honest. It was all right. It was nothing fantastic, but it was all right. Um, I seem to have been joined by a
Yeah, I was going to say this. So this is the reason why I was laughing just a minute ago. For anyone that's listening to this in the background and comes back and sees the fact you've now developed this massive hairy growth.
yes. I now have a bear cub on my shoulder. I don't quite know what's going on here, to be honest.
I did wonder how long it was going to take after you've seen a laptop or your screen moving where he's trying to
Yeah,
poke his head in.
he was kind of rubbing his head up on the edge of the laptop screen, which is what kept making it move. So yeah, there you
Not
go.
bad for
But
someone who says that he's saying how much they control the world, and he just
uh,
walked up and it's like, I'm going to sit on your shoulder now.
yeah, well, I don't like cats. I really don't. Um,
Now, so I think the next season is there was a bit of a. This is where we both did this one together.
yeah, well, there was a celebrity event, which was an
Yeah,
audience with Silvia Colatina and Giovanni Lombardo Radish. Now, both of those are apparently legends of Italian horror cinema.
yeah,
I can't say I know either of them because I've only ever seen a few Italian horror films, and like I was saying earlier, I don't have a great deal of knowledge of it. I don't have a love of it. I
yeah.
like the films I've seen, but I'm not that interested. So at this point, I was going to go off and do some other things, but then I eventually just came in and watched the film with you. Um, and
Yeah, I know you missed the short.
I didn't see the short film, yeah, which
No,
was
I
called.
did. Obviously, I did. It was a film. It was a. I've got to admit, it was another very moving but graphically gory horror film called O,
Oh,
and I think it was made in Germany. I think it was,
yeah,
but it's all about the premises of the whole horror aspects of it of having that emptiness inside you that you long to sort of be filled. I don't mean this in a rude way. It's basically the whole. It's basically the way they did it was all about drug abuse or
right,
substance abuse. Sorry, and the fact that you never sort of find that something to satisfy you or fill that emptiness. And a lot of people then turn to alcohol, to drugs, to and sort of fill that emptiness. And it's about that and the the graphics in it and the visual effects in it. I thought were very very well done. And it's a pretty much silent film,
right,
apart from the noise that you hear sort of gently in the background, sort of like a low hum that gets gradually a bit louder. But I think it's such a moving film, and like it's got some horror aspects. Like she ends up basically the whole premise is that that emptiness, that hole inside you, you're sort of drawn to for things that can fill it.
Yeah.
And it's her way. I don't know. She sees this hole in it and puts her hand in it, and it gets to that point and starts getting a bit more gruesome and graphic. The things go on to the point where she ends up killing herself because of it.
Right.
And I
Fair enough.
think it's so well done.
Cool.
Like for substance abuse, drug abuse, anything like that is, as we know in a lot of films, is very controversial subject.
Yeah.
And this guy that done this, I'm not going to try and pronounce his name because I'll probably screw it up, but he does this so well, and I think it's such a great film.
Cool. That sounds good.
I'll
Uh,
let you. I'll let you talk about Ghost Crew.
yeah. Well, it said in the thing. It says in the thing, mystery film. Two films
Yeah,
were rushing to completion in time for the festival. Only one, however, will screen. And the film that screened was a thing called Ghost Crew,
yeah,
uh, which is sort of comedy horror
yeah.
ish.
I got a bit confused about what it was as well because it started off as a sort of documentary, found footage sort of thing, and then went on to sort of being like recorded from the outside, and it just
Yeah, it did get a bit confusing with that, but it starts off kind of funny ish. And then it gets serious, but with some comedy elements, some of which don't really work with the serious stuff.
no,
It's like that continual running joke that every time he goes through a door or somewhere, he trips over.
yeah, it did seem a bit.
And I mean, it's an interesting idea and it's an interesting story about sort of ghosts and them getting just getting justice over the people that kill them and things like that. Uh, and
I think
it's
God,
no, I was gonna say, it's an interesting idea, but I think it just the joke element of it started wearing a bit thin, and the whole thing was just a bit too long.
yeah, I agree. It was a bit. It seemed a bit all over the place, but it was very obvious at one point what was going to happen
Yeah,
and where it was going. It sort of think it would have. It was just. It was too obvious. I think if there had been a twist at the end, it might have made it a bit different. But
yeah,
I think it was. Yeah, it was an okay film, but it wasn't amazing. I would say. Like, part of me wants to know what the other one was, just to sort of
yeah.
see how
Well,
this one won. But
yeah, I agree. I mean, it's. I think some people might like it, but I'm not
yeah,
sure.
it wasn't for me.
No. So then we had our fifth session, which you went in to watch the short films, did you not?
Yes.
Yes. And I stayed in the other one. So do you want to do your one first?
Yeah. This is the short film showcase number two. We shouldn't have done that. It made my head hurt. And it started off with a film called Streams. Now this is sort of like a crossroads sort of thing, like the sort of making a deal with a devil or demon
All right.
abilities, but it's all about um, he gives her this choice of he has to make she has to make a deal um, to get these abilities, and it's what she has to go through, and the twist of it as well. In the end, I think was very well done. The graphics in it, I thought, were very well done because there's not actually you don't there's not actually someone acting as this demon. All you hear is the voice, and there's sort of a shadowy figure.
All right.
And I think the soundtrack in it, I think, was very well done because it's they actually put up a disclaimer at the beginning saying that every song that was used in it
Mm.
was free of copyright, so it could be used in free. And there's a lot of sort of 80s, 70s, 80s rock songs
All right.
that are in it that are very that I was listening to singing along, and I'm like, how is this not copyrighted? But
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of songs of that. But it's just saying it's definitely it's not a unique idea, but it's definitely a good spin on it. And the
Cool.
sort of saying the twist at the end, I think, is just a great way of doing it. Uh, the next one, which is Fear Abides, Nightly Glistens. I genuinely like this film,
Yeah.
and it didn't seem like there was that big of a reaction to it when it happened, but I genuinely liked it.
All right.
It was it was a sort of, I don't know whether or not it's because of the fact that it was the sort of people didn't understand what was going on, but I genuinely like this, and I don't know, it sort of hit home to me a little bit, and I don't know why.
Okay.
But it was a good film. Now the next one, uh, Part Forever. I don't know if it's meant to be part or apart forever,
Okay.
because a part would make a bit more sense. But it's another film that deals with grief and um, not being able to move on, even though, or thinking that you can't move on when it's people are sort of thinking it's a bit acceptable now, and um, like there's a good little jump scare in it as well. But it's, I don't know, it's a very good film. I think it's a very good way of dealing with grief. I think,
Yeah.
and like how people deal with it, even though that they might seem calm and collected on the outside, but on the inside they're not, and everything like that. And I think it's a great film.
Cool.
Again, it's a good one. Um, now I sort of missed mucked this one up because I didn't realise what it was at the time. But this one's called Baby Monitor,
Right.
and I will genuinely say now, this film, because I watched this when I first had my two kids. Not this film, but I watched films like this, and it is the main reason why I never got a video baby monitor, because it's all about this mum's gone out and the dad's at home, and this video baby monitor, he starts hearing sounds and seeing things in the video that he can't see with the eye, and it getting very close to the baby. And genuinely, I will say, it was my biggest fear when I had my two.
Yeah. No, I can understand that.
And it's sort of that whole. I know, genuine. I know it's sort of like a lot of it's dramatized for films and stuff like that, but it was one of my things that is sort of, it's all that what if. And
Mm.
even
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
my two are teenagers. I don't have to worry about them doing anymore. I'm quite happy to let them fall asleep when they sleep, when they do. I
Yeah.
don't have to worry, but it still genuinely worries me that whole is what if that could happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
can
it's
understand that.
one of the few that I'd say that actually sort of, I found myself at one point having to sort of grip my hands into my knee because I'm like, I genuinely understood that fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I say the camera work on it, I thought was amazing as well, because a lot of it was done looking over his shoulder
Right.
into the baby monitor into the room,
Yeah.
so you could see the figure on the baby monitor. Well, the way the camera was, you couldn't then see it in the room, and I thought that was so well done.
Yeah. It's nice.
Um, yeah, the next one was called Demon in a Bottle, and it was a very short film. It was done as an animation for film, but it's all about, well, what it's like for alcohol abuse and alcohol, how you feel, and what happens when you get to that deep down darkness, and you're saying what it leads to and the despair you feel. And I thought, you're saying it was another one. It was all done animation,
Yeah.
um, and I think it was really well done actually.
Cool.
Like, it's the guy who thought of the idea was great. Um, the next one, I I genuinely I genuinely had to stop myself from laughing out loud because I knew that if I did, I wasn't going to stop. But it was called Floor 43,
Right.
and it was another one that was animated. But it was sort of a, not stick figure, but it was a little bit more up from that. So it was sort of like, but it was to do more with like this completely oblivious cleaner who was cleaning up stuff around this office where there had obviously been a massacre. Because
Okay.
there's like, she's walking, like she's got headphones in, and she's walking past doing her own stuff, and walking past, like closing her eyes and dancing, walking past dead bodies on the floor, and like, throwing throwing rubbish in this like sort of trash heap, not realizing that she's done it. Blood's then seeped out the bottom, and but it's just saying it's so funny because it's sort of that obliviousness to danger around you. Because it's at one point she's sitting at her desk tidying up, and this figure comes out the roof, looks over her, and takes her headphone out, can't hear anything, carries on, and I'm just like, there are people like that. It's just completely oblivious to everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, so the next one was Sonar. Now this was again the camera footage and the camera usage and the effects. I just blew my mind because it starts off with her in a swimming pool.
Right.
You see her dive down and then see what says HMS something on the side of it. And obviously, we all know that ships like that are massive. They're not going to fit the swimming pool. It just that whole thing of like that transition was so smooth, so like seamless.
Yeah.
It was so well done, and then her coming back up with everything. But the whole the the shots that they used, the camera footage, I think, or not the camera angles they used, and the whole imagery, I thought was so well done as well.
Oh.
Um, Room 301 is the next one, and this one was filmed actually not far away from us.
Okay.
So when so it was filmed in the Southend on Sea,
Hey.
so not actually that far away from us at all.
Right.
With a gentleman that was in it that people might know as extras from Star Wars and stuff like that. Um, who yeah, I think you must have seen over the weekend. So he was in it. He was in it. He was in it as a ghost
Right.
with a sheet over him. But again, it was very good effects in it because it's the way it was done and it was very clever. Certain filming of it, and they said, but it freaked me out more because I've stayed in this hotel that this is all filmed in, by the way,
Right.
and it freaked me out more because I've actually stayed in the room that they filmed this in. So when they walk in, they're going down the corridor. I'm like, obviously, I didn't twig. I twigged sort of the hotel, and I didn't then twig everything else. It didn't sort of come together, and I was like, I've been to that hotel.
Yeah.
I've walked down that corridor. I've been. Oh my god, I've been at that door, and they sort of go in and things happen. I'm like, I've been in that room. Now, what makes it funny is the fact that they didn't realise at the time that Southend on Sea's Westcliff Hotel is actually known for um, supposedly being haunted.
Yeah.
So that makes it even funnier. It will make it better. But I just think it's so well done. Like the visual effects in it, they've done of it because they did a shot of you could see this room was all messy. This woman's meant to be there as a cleaner, and you can see it's all messy. But as the camera pans round, you can see her reflection in the mirror, and
Right.
she's screaming and trying to fight out. And I'm like, that is very well done. The fact that you can see the room behind her, but she's not, and it's as I'm saying, it's just some of the visual effects in this whole short showcase. I think was just amazed me so much the fact that it was able to be done.
Yeah.
The next one was called. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that.
It's inseparable.
Inseparable.
That's it.
Actually, and again, this is another one that had very powerful message in it. A lot of good cinematography in these. It's hard to pick out bits from these films because of the fact that I genuinely sitting and writing these down, and I'm like, it's not going to do any justice
Yeah.
unless you watch this film. You're not going to do it justice, no matter how much you describe it. Um, and the last one of this showcase was called Mean Spirited, and
Yeah.
the
This
camera work.
confused me because of the fact that there was a feature film earlier
Yeah,
on called Mean Spirited, and it was kind of
yeah, that's what confused me as well. I was sitting there like, what's the on twice? But the camera work in it, I thought was very well. At one point, there's four actors. The four actors are sitting, and the camera's just going round them.
right.
So it's just like a constant movement going around them.
Yeah.
And but I just Like from what they would, like, I watched the Q, or listened to the Q and A afterwards, and I'm amazed they managed to get this film. Just purely for the fact that they said that there was so much against them doing this.
Yeah.
Like the place where they were meant to be recording it recording it didn't tell them that on the day that they were filming it that the people there were roofers coming in and re-roofing it, so they were then getting gassed out and everything by solvent like solvent cleaner and solvent dissolver. So they were getting gassed, and it's just like there's so much against them doing this film, and yet still produced such a great film.
Yeah.
And it's again, it's another one. It's sort of it's all about these people trying to get revenge, and actually because of the fact that they think this person's is a medium and he's a fraud, and actually realise it all turns out that they're the bad guys, and what they've done is way worse than him being a
Oh.
like that.
Hmm.
And it's all about these sort of ghostly apparitions and stuff like that. And I think it's again it's another really good film.
Cool. Sounds it. Well, while you were watching all those, I watched a short film called Last Orders, which was really good. It was a pub-based supernatural film. Um, and basically it's about death. Death comes calling for somebody,
Yeah.
and it's very interesting and odd. It's really good. It's kind of like there's a few twists as you go through it, and it turns out that death isn't there for the person you think that he is, and it it's a very interesting film, and it's really kind of you get really drawn into it,
Yeah.
and it was really good. And they're saying that it's being turned into a limited series for streaming, and I think it may be on Netflix. I'm not sure, but it looks like it could be a really interesting thing
Yeah.
to watch. Very quite a quiet film.
Yeah.
But as I say, it's a supernatural thing rather than it being sort of out and out sort of horror. But it was very interesting, very good. Um, the feature film was a film called Ghostwriter. It's, you kind of think of this as being a basic ghost story,
Yeah.
but it's more than that. It's about the relationship between a writer and his father, who was a famous writer before him, and
Yeah.
how he never quite matches up to his dad's sort of legend, if you like.
Yeah.
Um, but this is about a haunted story, which
Okay.
kind of the story comes to life and haunts the writer, basically.
Okay.
It's really interesting and really intriguing, and it's got an interesting end to it.
Yeah.
And it's a really good film. It gets a bit confusing in places. You've got to think about what you're watching because you've got to kind of follow what's going on. But it's a really good film to watch. It took a lot of thinking about, especially if it was coming late, quite late.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. Um, so yes, that was that. So then we went on to the last session, session 6, the last session of the festival.
Yeah.
And you were in screen
I was in
2.
Screen 2 with a short that I don't know. I don't know whether or not. I don't know whether or not I watched if I saw the whole thing or not because it seemed to. I don't know. I don't know whether or not I missed part of it or what. It just didn't seem to make a lot of sense to me.
Okay.
A film called Darker, and as saying I'm not taking away from the film. It was a good film, but I don't know whether or not I missed a bit, which I don't know if I did because I'm pretty sure I was there when it started, but I don't know, it just didn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. And I'm saying I don't know whether or not I missed something or I just I don't know, wasn't paying attention, which I don't think I was, but or don't think I wasn't, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just don't know. It didn't make sense to me, and I'm not taken away from the film. It was a good film, but for me, it didn't make a lot of sense to me.
Okay. Fair enough.
Now I can honestly say that this film, the feature length that is on, for me, was actually the best film of the weekend.
Okay.
Well, of the whole thing. Now, this is a film called Eating Miss Campbell,
Okay.
and I'll read you the description that's on here
Yeah.
and see whether or not. Well, yeah, just what your reaction is. So it's a vegan goth falls in love. So just the first three words of that didn't make sense to me the first time I read it.
Yeah.
But a vegan goth falls in love with her new English teacher while developing a problematic taste for human flesh.
Yes. I can. I
Yeah,
can. I can see that would be a problem.
yeah. See, my main problem is with this is I know a lot of goths.
Yeah.
Not, I'm pretty sure none of them are vegan.
Well, there might be some somewhere.
Yeah, true. Um, but no, I genuinely love this film. It's it it's sort of a the main character in it knows she's in a horror film. It's all
Right.
about her knowing the fact that she's a horror character. She's the goth. She plays a goth in all of them, but she's the horror character. She doesn't want to be it anymore.
Okay.
Doesn't want to be this. Doesn't want to be this horror character. Doesn't want to be in a film. And breaks the fourth wall by talking to the audience, talking to the person watching the film. And it's a very typical cliche film. So there's a lot of high school jocks and the sort of bad girl, like the mean girls in it, the popular one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's basically like an American. It's an American horror, like typical American horror film, all set in England.
Okay.
So it's an English prep school with like these all horror people that are involved in it, and these all the kids have got something to do with horror films, and the head teacher's something to do with it, and they these people are trying to endorse getting the school name put on the map, and these people are from America, and they've realised that they're a bit twisted as well, and they've realised that every school that ends up with his name on the map is normally because they've had a school massacre.
Right.
So the people in charge of the school are trying to endorse this by trying to run a competition, basically, so that the winner of this competition, then gets given whatever they need to go on either massacre or a mass suicide.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just there are so many like there's so many little twists and turns, but there's so much fun and so much gore, and I love it. It's like it's just it's stupid little things that happen in it, and the one bit in it that for any bloke watching it, I'm pretty sure would scream as well because I know a lot of people did in the theatre, in the cinema when we see it. There's part of it where this guy gets his member bitten off,
Okay.
and like there was a mix of sexes in the cinema, and you could pretty much tell by the where every bloke was sitting. But it's just it was saying there were funny one lines in it, there were funny bits in it, and but it was the right amount of gore in it and comedy and serious matters, and it worked so well. And so for
Cool.
me personally, I think this is probably one of the best film of the weekend.
Cool. No, that sounds good. I'd like to have seen that. Okay, so I was in the other cinema, the other screen, and we had a few short films and then a feature film. So we started off with a thing called "We Are the Final Girls," which is a short documentary, which was made by one of the women who works on the team producing the horror festival.
Okay,
She is involved with doing the videos and the
yeah,
photographs for the question Q&As and that sort of thing. It's basically it's a documentary about sexual harassment and attacks on women, and
Yeah,
it's looking at them and their the depiction of attacks on women, and that in horror films and other things, and just in the wider society, the whole how everything is like that is dealt with in wider society. It was a really good short documentary, and
yeah,
I think it would. I think she could have made it a lot longer. She could have made
yeah,
a longer thing that would still have been as good, or and it would have worked really well. And she said that she's looking to make it into a longer thing. So it was a really interesting. I mean, it was completely different. It wasn't really horror, and there were some, some of the elements were about horror films and that sort of
yeah,
thing. But what I was a little bit concerned when I saw what it was about. I was a bit concerned that it was going to be another film like ones I've seen before, where it's like sort of, oh, look at this, horror films make people do these things.
yeah,
But that wasn't what she was saying at all. Because she's a horror film fan, she
yeah,
was actually saying about the fact that, it's sort of, it's kind of the reflection of society, or it's because of the way that society is, we make films like this. I
yeah,
think, and she, I mean, she's got a lot of her own ideas in that. Her views on the depiction of things like that in horror is going to be totally different to mine, purely because of the fact that she's a woman and I'm a bloke.
yeah.
So but it was a really good and very interesting short documentary to watch, and a very sort of important message, I think. So that was good. It was interesting to watch that. We then had a film called Virgil, which was a short film that was attic-based film with a computer, where sort of the computer had a person downloaded into it who is then re-uploaded into the real world. It was interesting. It was different. And it was quite good, but it was all right as far as things like that go. There was a film called Merger, which was based in an office, and it was brilliant. I really like it. The guy
Yeah,
who made it, they did Q&A afterwards, and the guy who made it was saying it's like sort of, there have been many times when you're doing a boring, mundane job, you feel like the job is becoming, you're becoming the job. You kind of get
yeah.
lost in the job, and this was basically about that. It's about a man getting lost in his job, but in a much more physical way than you would normally do.
Okay.
Very good. Then there's a thing called Caregiver.
Yeah,
This was I really like this. This was a zombie short thing, and it was about a girl caring for her uh, grandfather, I think it was supposed to be, and she kind of like he's no longer with us, shall we say, in the real sense. But she's doing this kind of documentary thing for this
yeah.
guy about caregivers, and
Okay.
he's making this documentary as part of his college course, so it's just him and the camera, and it ends up with just being the camera. Then there's a film called Cyanide. Cyanide's really good. It's a real life action sort of video game. Uh,
Yeah,
it's like an action game where you sort of like, you go to each level, and each level you face a different
yeah,
challenge or a different thing and that sort of thing. It's sort of an action fighting type thing. And in this one, there's a woman is the character, and she goes into this thing which is sort of like the next level, and there's a cyanide pill
yeah,
um, on a table, and the thing is that this is really about sort of, I don't know, halfway through the game or whatever. There's
yeah.
cyanide pill on the table, and the buzzer goes off, and the door opens, and another woman comes in, another player comes in.
Yeah.
So they've got to fight each other to get to the cyanide tablet, so that they don't have to face the the monster in
Yeah.
the next level.
Okay.
And so that it's them fighting to get to the cyanide tablet first, so that they don't have to carry on with the game. It's quite an interesting thing, and they're talking about expanding it,
Yeah.
so that could be good. Then there was a short film called Unreal, which was interesting. It was a female lead. It was like a film within a film. It was like a short silent horror film,
Yeah.
which kind of the characters come out. One of the characters comes out of the film and takes her in the film, and
Okay.
it's odd, but it was good. It wasn't too long. Then we had a feature film which was called The Devil's Hideout, which is Spanish, subtitled. Yes, it says in here that it's a new take on the Jekyll and Hyde story, which it isn't, to be honest. Yes, there are elements in as much as there is a good side and bad side to this guy and that kind of thing, but it's a bit more like a possession than the whole kind of Jekyll and Hyde thing.
Yeah.
It's a strange film in as much as you don't know what's going on for most of the film.
Okay.
And they're just very odd characters behaving very oddly. There are elements of Jekyll and Hyde, I suppose, in it, but there are more elements of like Psycho or some kind of film where somebody's possessed and
Yeah.
it's channeling through someone and all that kind of thing. The ending of it's very good,
Yeah.
but on the whole, it was just kind of okay, you know.
Okay.
I was a little bit disappointed in that. I was expecting it to be a lot better than it was, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad film. It didn't
Yeah.
leave me thinking, oh, that's a really bad ending to the
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 festival.
festival.
Yeah.
But there you go. That's the thing. So I think Spencer and the crew did a fantastic job with the
Yeah.
festival. You're never going to get a thing where you like all of the films.
No.
So
So it's saying for especially for like a film festival in general, no one is going to like every film.
no,
And a horror film, this horror festival where it's based on just one frame or one genre. Again, you're not going to have a film where everyone's going to go, "This is amazing," because there's going to be some people that like absolute massacres and gore, some that like jump scares, some that just like ghost stories,
yeah.
and I think they cover it all. And I don't know. I think there's a film here for that. There will be at least someone, if not more, that will like them.
So there was, of course, the festival award winners. The judges are a mixture of 3 males, 3 females, and they range. There's some in their 20s, 30s, and 60s. So there's this. They give all of the films a score, and then they sort of like put them together and all this kind of thing. So the main festival winners were: the best film was Feed Me.
Yes.
The best short film was 665, which is pretty good. Best director was Jamie Hooper for The Creeping. Best screenplay was Dispensary of Death. Best actor was Neil Wald for Feed Me. Best actress was Taryn Wynnard for Poi or
Peacock.
Peacock. Best documentary was A Life on the Farm. Best score was for Feed Me.
Yep.
Best local film was Walking Against the Rain. It wasn't filmed locally, but most of the people involved with making the film came from
Yeah.
the local area. Best international film was Diversion. I don't remember us talking about Diversion.
No.
Which one of us watched Diversion? Oh, yes. Diversion. The Politics of Diversion.
Yeah, sorry,
Film I
yes.
watched. Yes, yeah. Best film with a running time of under 5 minutes was Unveiled. And the best cheap thrill was All You Can Eat Toxic Burrito
Yeah.
film. Now, there are 6 prizes that were given by 6 judges' prizes, which was they were given to Uncanny, Serial Killer, Type 2 You Bleed, Eating Miss Campbell, Video Shop Tales of Terror, and Kiddo. Then there were the additional awards, this year's additional awards. The best aesthetic of 2023 went to Crulon. Most unusual farming method went to Tatties, which, if you ever see the film, you will understand completely.
Yeah.
Best young filmmaker was Jan Berthany for Morto Rossa. Best one-liner is the Iron Sheik Massacre, which I won't repeat because it's most surprising death, Strings. Best killer puppet went to the Puppet Killer.
Yep.
And the best dildo death went to Kerbel Yildirim for Mask of the Devil.
Yeah, exactly what I was talking about.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So the main film festival is on a bit later in the year, which is it's their 7th year this year for the main festival.
Yeah.
And the horror film festival has now been going for 3 years. And I'm really looking forward to next year's.
Yes.
So I would like to thank Spencer and the team for putting together a really good festival. We really enjoyed being there. Thank you very much for the passes. And we hope to see you again next year in some form or other. Every year this festival is getting bigger and bigger, so I would say to people, keep an eye on it because it's starting to get bigger, and it's getting an accreditation, which means that it will be a festival that feeds into things like short films getting things like BAFTAs and that kind of thing. So
So it's
that's really cool.
definitely fit like the fact that they are an international film like festival. They're not just doing it for English films or even just local films.
Yeah,
But saying as we've said and like some of they come from Japan, it's from Korea, there's Germany, South Africa, France, Italy. There's been ones from and they're not they're not just picking out ones that go up because they're local and
yeah, yeah.
thinking no one's going to care. They are picking them from all over the world and
And also
they're amazing.
every year it's getting more and more in the way of stalls outside of the actual films. So
Yeah,
there are other things to do there to do there as well as the films,
yeah,
and they're getting they're attracting people from like the 2 Italian
yeah,
um, horror film stars. They're attracting people like that who are coming over here to do talks and to do sort of like autograph signings and photographs and that kind of thing. So it's getting bigger every year, and I can see it building on that, and it's going to get bigger and better every time. So thank you very
I will say
much.
as well for any budding film maker. I don't know. For my brain's decided to it was going to just stop halfway through that. Any budding filmmaker that wants to, I feel for me because obviously Dad's been in films. He's worked on films. I just review. I just review them. I watch a lot of stupid films, from really good ones to really god awful ones. I've worked on a bit of drama when I was at school. I like doing bits like that. I do a lot of this stuff. For anyone that wants to know what it's like next year, go along, sit and listen to the Q&A sessions, have them words, have them questions asked, sit and
Yeah,
watch their films and see if you ever feel like you're sitting there going, do you know what, I don't think I can do it. Sit and go and listen to these guys who've gone, do you know what, I come up and I had this idea and I ran with it and this
yeah,
is where I am now.
yeah,
They are like all of them from like the short films that we've watched, like there's one guy in this who done a short film all based on his hand brush paintings. All of
yeah,
it is his paintings that he done, and he made the short film from that. There's other ones that done animation. There's live action. There's feature length films. If you've got an idea, run with it. all that could be worse is they turn around and go, not this year, but maybe next year. There's going to be someone out there that likes it. Give it
Yeah,
a
yeah.
go.
And I would say, the Q&A sessions are now all up on YouTube on the Romford Horror International Film Festival YouTube channel. So have a look for those. Keep an eye out for the adverts for the main film festival, because that's not long before that comes up. I think it's March.
Yeah,
That is.
yeah, I think so.
So have a look for that, because they have one day in the normal film festival that's taken over by the horror film
Yeah.
festival. So that's a whole day of horror films on there. Also look out for in the future for Premier Cinemas in Romford. They do have a great thing at Halloween. They do films as well there. Premier cinemas, like a lot of other independent cinemas and
Yeah.
that sort of thing, are great because of the fact it stops everything being shown on multi-screen, sort of like big corporate cinemas everywhere. And it's great because they also take an interest in independent films and
Yeah.
different films.
And the fact that they're not. I don't know about a lot of independent ones, but I definitely know for Premiere in Romford, they're not ripping you off.
No,
They're reasonable price tickets to go and watch a film, and it's not like you've got to buy this film and £700 worth of other stuff before you can
yeah,
even get in there. You can get a ticket, you can go in, and they're quite happy. Like they're accommodating for every person, and
absolutely.
in them to watch these films in an independent cinema where the guy who owns it, he was standing there having a chat with the people, everyone,
Yeah,
talking about how much he loved these films. And I think everyone needs to support independent film like cinemas a lot more.
yeah, definitely. So, yes, support your local independent cinema, support your local independent filmmakers. Thank you very much to Spencer and the crew for a great festival and everything. Thank you, Scott, for coming along the festival and doing the show.
Do you know what? I'm so glad that I could go this year, and like next year, even if I have to pay for it, I will be there again. It is such a great opportunity.
We'll see what we can do. We'll see what
Yeah.
we can do about that. So, until next year, that is all for the Romford Horror International Film Festival. We will be back next week with another episode of the normal show. Next week's one is a comparison of the 1973 and the 2010 versions of the film The Crazies
Yeah.
by George A. Romero. So yes, stay tuned for that and all that kind of thing. Thank you very much to everybody that's stayed with us and listened. And there will be lots of links and things in the information for this video for you to look at the websites and things for the stalls that were there, and for the Romford Horror Film Festival YouTube channel. So until further notice, goodbye.
Bye.
The Sciforror Film Podcast.